and welcome to my channel where I talk about my life. Today I am going to talk about the cost of grad school, both financial and mental costs of grad school. I have some notes here, so I'm just going to look at them. Okay, so the first thing is obviously the financial costs. So if you're thinking of going to grad school, specifically for IO psychology, your master's degree can cost around $20,000, maybe sometimes more, depending on the program. Some programs have a 3-year requirement, some have 2. And so obviously the 3-year one is going to cost more money, but that 3rd year is like a field experience, or a thesis or something like that. So you might want to consider that when you're thinking about grad school and what are you really looking to get out of it. Some people love the requirement of having that field experience, whereas other people are like, I can get my own field experience, I don't need that built into my program, so I'll just do the 2-year option. So it really depends on what you want. I think that the cost of graduate school is actually less than the cost of your bachelor's degree, because the bachelor degree is like more years, whereas the master's degree is only 2 or 3. For me anyway, my bachelor degree, when I look at my student loans, most of it is from my bachelor degree and not from graduate school. So that's something to consider. You know, where are you when paying off your bachelor student loans, if you're planning to take out student loans, or if you did take out student loans, where are you in paying those off? What is your plan for that? And how long will it take you to pay off your loans for graduate school? Now, if you want to go the route of going to graduate school for free and going on ground and doing like a TA position or something like that, that's also an option. It's very, very competitive. Programs like that usually only take about 8 students a year, sometimes less. It really depends on how many people are graduating in a given year. There's programs that take 1 student. There's some programs that don't take any if they still have like 5 students. So you really have to think about that, you know, how competitive do you want to be, or, you know, if you're a bachelor level person right now, if you're in your bachelor's degree, where are your grades, you know, where's your research interests? That's another thing to really think about, because those programs are usually PhD programs, and they focus heavily on research. So if you go into that program, those programs, yes, school is free, but it mostly focuses on research. Do you want to be a researcher? I mean, they also teach you how to be a practitioner, obviously, but some people don't want to do any research, and you really can't be in the psychology field if you want a doctorate and not have any kind of experience in research. They're gonna, no matter what you do, a PsyD or a PhD, they're gonna require you to do something research based, because you have to learn how to read the research and interpret it and apply it to the field. However, there are some programs that are more research intensive than others. Those programs are research intensive. So do you want to be somebody who is very well versed in research? Do you want to be in academia? Do you want to teach? You know, a lot of people that go that route want to be professors themselves. Is that something that you want to do, or are you more interested in the practitioner part of it? Then you might want to go do something else and do a PsyD or maybe a master's degree. And I don't think there's any free master degree programs. I think that's just doctorates where they give you the TA position and then you are in school for free. Also think about the fact that those programs that are the free ones take anywhere from 5 to 8 years to graduate. So do you have that time? If you're in your mid-20s, then that's nothing. If you're 50 years old and you've got, you know, you want to really advance in your career, that is something to consider. If you're 70 years old or 60 years old and you're retiring and you're just thinking, you know, you want to learn something, change of, you know, whatever, then that might still be an option for you. It really depends on what you want, what your goals are. Let's see. So online programs versus in person, they run about the same. So if you're talking about a master's degree, like I said, it could be anywhere from 20 to 40,000. I'm talking specifically about IO psychology and the psychology field in general. So it could be anywhere between 20 to 40,000, and that's in ground, like in person. or online. They basically run the same amount of money. Sometimes online programs are more expensive just because they require you to use more technology. It requires a school to have more technology use, whereas, you know, in-person doesn't require as much, or it didn't before COVID, but people are going in person now again, so you'll probably see, I don't know, I haven't looked at, you know, what the fluctuations in graduate school have been since COVID, but I'm thinking it would probably be around the same. Some schools have had like a financial, or not financial, but like a tuition freeze because of COVID, so they're not increasing their rates for tuition because they know people are struggling. So it could be a good time for you to get into grad school right now because people, because of the rates are kind of better than they would have been if it weren't for COVID. Online program versus in person. Okay, I said that. So those are all things to consider. Now, like I said, for me, financially, bachelor degree cost more than the graduate school. Now I have done 2 graduate programs already, and I'm in my last one that I'll ever do, which is a doctorate in IO psychology, and so obviously those things add up. The one thing to think about when you're thinking about grad school, like, is it worth the cost and all this and that, you know, what is the long-term goal and what kind of salary will I be getting and will I be able to pay it off, and all these questions you may have. One thing to think about is like, what field do you want to get into, like what sector, because if you get into the nonprofit field or the government field, then you have student loan forgiveness. I don't want to say that like hard and fast, everybody who works in nonprofits and everybody who works in government gets student loan forgiveness. That's may not necessarily be true. In fact, it even says it on is it FAFSA or was it the Great Lakes Student Loans Forgiveness? I don't remember, but one of those websites even says that, you know, disclaimer, it may not be everybody, but for the most part, you have to read the qualifications and see if your job lines up with those qualifications to get student loan forgiveness. But that is basically 10 years of paying off your student loans, and then you can apply for student loan forgiveness. You have to have not missed any payments, and you have to be paying them off consistently. I'm pretty sure if you contact your student loan servicer and you say that like you've lost your job or whatever, they make accommodations. I know for a fact they do that. I'm not pretty sure. I know that because it says it. But I don't know if you do that, will you have to reset your student loan forgiveness, like to reset the 10 years or what? I don't know how that works. But that is something to think about. Like if you want to get into nonprofit field, then you may not even have to really worry about, you know, if I'm going to be able to pay all of it off. As long as you can pay off for the 10 years. That's something to think about. Psychological costs of grad school. It depends on what you're doing and it depends on basically you, I guess, because for me, I liked doing, you know, the route that I went, which was online grad school, in-person bachelor's degree. I did not like my in-person bachelor's degree program. I mean, I liked being in college, you know, having the college experience and all that stuff. School is great, whatever, but I just felt like there was, it's kind of like high school, but you just like, it wasn't high school, like you live at school. It's like high school that you can't escape, and so I hated it. I hated it for that, but I liked it for other reasons. I also found that, I don't know if it's just because it's grad school and you get to focus more on things that you're actually interested in. So maybe I would have felt happier in grad school regardless of if it was in person or not. Because I get to focus on psychology and IO psychology and clinical counseling. But with the bachelor's degree, in person, it was like I had to learn about this and that and all these things I wasn't really interested in just to get my degree. But I think that's just having a bachelor's degree in general is what, you know, that's what they do, especially a liberal arts school, which is what I went to. So for me, graduate school has been better than my undergrad experience just because I get to focus on the things that I actually am interested in. And honestly, if it weren't for my bachelor's degree, I wouldn't have known about IO psychology. and I wouldn't have really thought about counseling either. So obviously without that, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing, so it is a good foundation. But anyways, for me, like I didn't like, with the in-person, it just seems like more high school. I don't know how to describe it. You know, you go into your classes, you don't really have any autonomy, and you basically are in high school, but you're not. I don't like that. You know, I'm changing and I'm getting older and my development is getting older, and I feel like online programs allow you to grow as an individual, and it just is more conducive for growing as an adult, you know, being more autonomous and exercising, you know, what your interests are and being able to be flexible and adapt. So with online programs, you will still have, you know, due dates and deadlines and assignments and discussions and all these things. But because the online program or online world was created for people who are working, the professors I found are much more flexible and understanding. One example I can give is when I was in undergrad, I had my grandmother passed away, and in my family, you know, the grandma, especially in the African American community, the grandma is like, you know, the person, like the centralized person. And so it was very important. That's a very important death in the family. So I wanted to take, you know, the week off of school to go out of state to go to the funeral and be with my family. And my biology teacher was just so, you know, insensitive about the whole thing. And she was like, you can't, you're not going to be allowed to not retake, but you're not going to be allowed to take your tests, because it was I think it was finals week that she died. It was spring. And it was the end of semester, so it must have been finals. And so she wasn't going to let me take my final exam if I didn't come to class, if I didn't come for the exam. And I was like, all my other teachers are letting me, you know, take it early or do something else. But, well, I mean, not take it early because she had just died, so you can't really plan a death. It happens. But they're letting me, you know, giving me accommodations, and she's not. And also, that year, I was just terrible. I was sick with pneumonia for a month, so it was hard for me to get up and down the stairs at school, and I had no sympathy for that either. It was just awful. Oh my gosh. It just really took a toll on my mental health for sure. But you see that kind of racial insensitivity. This white old lady, no offense, was telling me basically that the death of my grandmother, who, like I said, is a very centralized, important role in the African American community, is not as important as my stupid final exam. I hated that. That right there, that was my freshman year, by the way. So that right there is just a huge cultural shift, a huge cultural division, where this old lady does not understand the importance of this death. It also is making me choose between my academics and my family, which I do not find okay. Of course I chose my family. I said, screw it, I'm gonna go, and I failed that class, and that's fine. So that's just what happens. But when you do online school and you say something like that, your teachers are much more accommodating. And also you have to think about, it's a different time now. Back, you know, I'm not that old, but people are more culturally sensitive than they were before. And that was even just a few years. I mean, I'm not that old. But anyway, she might not even work there anymore. Who knows? But maybe she's more culturally sensitive. I don't know. Who cares? I don't have to deal with her anymore. But I'm saying, in an online environment, for example, with this year, I gave birth to my daughter, and I had my doctoral qualifying exam the same week as my due date. So I contacted my professor and I said, hey, can I take my doctoral qualifying exam early? And he said, absolutely. So I took it 2 weeks early, and I was totally fine with that. And I had to cram everything in at 9 months pregnant, but everything went well and it was fine. So you get that kind of accommodation. And so for me, the online environment is much more conducive for my mental health and just for life in general. You know, as you're growing and you're growing a family, you're growing a career, that's another thing I want to talk about, but and you're buying a house and you're doing all these great milestones, you want a program that's going to be flexible enough for you to live your life and not have to pause your life and be put in school jail, is what I like to call on ground learning. I call it school jail. Not that like it's, you know, I just hate it so much. But, you know, do you, if you like it better than, you know, I know people who can't do online because they just don't have, like, they can't focus as well, or they just don't understand the material and they're not able to get the help that they need. And so they prefer in person because they can ask more questions in the moment and things like that. So I know that that's something that some people need. For me, I much prefer online because I can, like I just said, it's more adaptable to just life in general. So I've had a great experience, and I mean, some online programs are very stringent though too, but again, just keeping that communication open with your professor, no matter if you're online or in person, about like what you need and what's going on in your life is going to help you. But anyways, talking about work and growing your career, another good part of doing online is that you can also work. Whereas when you're in person, you can't usually when you're in graduate school. I mean, you may be able to, but having to be at the class at a certain time kind of makes it harder for you, and I think makes it more stressful for a lot of people, especially when you're trying to make income and pay your bills and things like that. So I think it kind of just puts life on pause more, whereas with online, it kind of just molds into your life rather than taking it over and you having to build your life around it. So that's why I like it. You know, as a full-time working mom, I love online school. And you just have to make sure that the school that you go to is very reputable and like people know about it. When they look at your resume, they can say, oh my gosh, I know somebody who went to that school, is great. So you want that kind of reaction. You don't want, I've never heard of that school before, or you don't want like the negative connotation that goes with a certain school. So I did a lot of research online about when I looked up the school that I was interested in and tried to read like in the forums, read like, social media, read, the school's outcome data on their website, just read, factual data, and also read opinions, because opinions are important, because when you get into the field as a practitioner or a researcher, people are going to look at your qualifications and they're going to judge you off of that. They just do. And so you want to make sure that you go to a school that has a good reputation as well. So that was my little video on the cost of grad school. I think I hit everything that I wanted to. Okay, so that is my video. Thank you for watching. I am trying to put out new videos consistently, so if you want more content about graduate school, that's great. You can follow me, subscribe, whatever. I'm also going to be doing some other videos because graduate school is just one facet of my life where I do other things as well, so I'll make videos about those too. So thanks for watching.